Hi friends, it's Miss Couch with Kids Smart, your teaching artist, here to teach you another art lesson. This time, instead of coloring, we're going to be cutting and gluing. So maybe you are like me and you have been cleaning up around the house. Maybe you have been digging around to see what was in the back of your closet or underneath your bed. And maybe you have found some things that you really don't need anymore. One thing that I found in my house was an old magazine. So you can see that it's been around. I probably kept it to make some art with it. It's from 2017. So I thought that it would be good to do some art projects with it. And then I have another one. This one I just picked up for free at the grocery store. And it has some nice colors in it that I thought I could use in some art projects. So we're going to look at those today. I needed glue, and I used some regular glue on some, and I used some glue sticks on others. I'll show you that. Of course, I need scissors and something to write with. I didn't use this marker very much. It could be a pen or a pencil. That part is not very important. Even a crayon will work. All right. So the first thing you're going to do is tear out a bunch of pages. So you can see I have all different colors and, oops, let's see, some black, here's some neutrals, here's a big watch, a lot of variety in the things that I have. Here's something with purple in it. So a lot of different things to use in my art. And I cut them up into strips. So you can see I have two sides on most of them that would work. I didn't really want words. So you can see here's one that has a little bit of letters on one side, but the other side's all picture. And I even had just some regular colored paper. And even though it was used on one side, it was plain on the other. So I thought, oh, maybe I can use that in my art project. And you'll need some paper for this. And you know what? We're going to cover it all up. So even a regular old lined piece of paper with holes in it, that'll be fine. Or some white paper. Whatever you have will work for this because we're going to cover it up. All right. Let's get to it. So down here with all my supplies, you can see that I took a really simple idea. This tree. Not much to look at, not very fancy, just a tree. But I'm going to grab a glue stick and I'm going to use these colored strips of paper and I'm going to start covering up my tree. I'll even use one of these used pieces of paper. We'll make it part of the tree. So just glue on the back and I'll start it right here. And we want to cover the outline that we're working on completely. But you can see this one's not tall enough. No problem. While I'm working, I will layer some of my strips so that they go all the way up. And it just layers on the tree. So let me do a couple more of these. This glue looks purple in the glue stick, but do not even think about it. It is going to dry clear. And you can see I'm pushing my strips up next to each other so that I get the most covered possible. And I'll put this one next to this right here. Here's a little strip of paper left over from another one I did. It has some drawing on it. You can cut up some of your old artwork if you want to use it for this. And that could be really cool to mix in with your magazine strips. Let's see. And don't worry about getting glue all over the place, because you can trim off the parts you don't want. You can cover that glue up. I even have some little short pieces in my scraps that are left over from other projects. This one is, I can use a little bit of it right there. All right, so that is quite a bit of my tree done. Here's another one I've been working on, and you can see I've done about half the page. I have this bird still to go, and what is over here, you might think it's another bird, or it could be anything. I'm going to turn it over and I'm going to show you, because even though I drew this on one side, I can lightly go back and draw these lines, and you can see this is the side of a tree with no leaves. So this one I might cut out and then cut out some individual leaves to put on it. So I'll show you that now with this piece of paper. You can see it's covered with all kinds of paper strips, and I'm going to cut out one of the shapes now so you can see what it is. And I made a lot of small shapes on this one. The designs are drawn on the back. The shapes are drawn on the back. And you can watch and see, what is Miss Couch cutting out? You can get your ideas for your shapes from books or from the internet. You can trace you can put a white piece of paper on your computer screen and trace. If you draw very lightly, you might need a grown-up for help. You can print out, if you have a printer, a shape, and just put the glue your strips on the back side of that shape. And when you're done, cut out your shape, and that'll work. Your shapes can be really simple, like a circle. You could do a planet or the earth with a circle. A heart is a simple shape. Squares and triangles are nice. you can do some other things with. So here you can see the shape I have. It's a moth or a butterfly. And I'll show you the back side of my paper. It has lots more that I can cut out. And here, as a matter of fact, I did some fish. So you could take your fish or your moth or whatever it is, and you could glue it onto, this is just a piece of construction paper. I could glue my fish on here and make a birthday card to send to someone, or any kind of card that you wanted, or it could have a moth on it like that. So that's one thing you can do with the paper strips. Here is another idea. You can see I've covered this entire piece of paper with the strips, every bit of it. And I even used a little bit of ribbon that I had. So let's look at some ideas for this. Now, I have two different thoughts on this project. I could take this piece of construction paper. You can see the purple construction paper is a little bit bigger than my stripes. See that little edge there? And I could add to it. I cut out some hearts because I saw that I had drawn some little hearts on my paper strip. So I could move these around. You might say, ooh, I didn't really like that little section so much. Or this needs a little more. There's a lot of blue right there, so I'll put a heart there. So that's an idea. You could add some hearts. And here even is a word that I cut out from a magazine. It says home. So I could glue that on. That's one thing I could do. Or another idea I had was to glue it onto this pink piece of construction paper, like this. And I probably want to cut off all my little extra bits. Now this, you can see I used a pencil and I drew half of a heart. So now I'm going to cut out my heart shape. It's perfectly okay if you need an adult to help you with any of it. All right, but instead of taking this heart and putting it on top like I did with the little purple hearts, instead I'm gonna open up this big one like a frame and put it on top. And I'm going to, I'm gonna see if maybe I would like to add, I cut out this from a magazine. It says, Stronger with You. And let's see. Here's another, I cut out this word. So I might include this word together. And I could play with where I want to put them on here. Maybe across the bottom. And then that would make something nice to give to a friend, somebody you miss. You could take a picture and send it to them, or you could even send it in the mail. So there it says, Together, Stronger with You. This was a perfume ad, and then it also has this other one that says, "Because it's you." I don't like to cover up the point of my heart, so maybe just like that. So those are some ideas for my big page of stripes, paper cut, strips, and ribbons. But the one thing I think it needs is, whoops, to cut. And see how I turned it over backwards? Cut off all those little extra bits along the side so that it's nice and neat on that side. And one more thing I did. This is an idea for taking a great big picture. So you can see here. And cutting it into strips. And this is spread out so the picture kind of moves. And for this one, I used liquid glue from the bottle, so I would get a really wiggly effect. So that would be different. And you can see that I laid out the strips, separating them at different parts to make some parts of the picture pinch together and some parts spread out. So how I did that is I chose a picture and a background color. And one thing I can tell you is that because you'll be spreading it out, here you can see my background paper and my picture are about the same size. That's too big. I'm going to have to cut out some and decide not to use part of it. So here's a good one because it's definitely not as big as the background picture. I'll go ahead and cut off these words. But I probably don't want to throw them away because I might want to take these words, like the word luxury. I might want to use them on another art project. So I'll just put it to the side. And then this has a rough edge where I tore it out of the magazine, so I'll trim that. Now what's going to happen with my picture? I want to take this picture of the house and I'm going to cut it into strips so that I can spread them out across the paper. Or actually I might go this way. I could also cut it into strips and then cut it into squares or little rectangles. They don't all have to be the same and they don't all have to be perfectly straight. We'll just experiment with cutting them up and spreading them out. This is kind of like making a puzzle, really, if you're going to keep track of where everything came from and get it back in the right order. Can be tricky. So here, I'm stretching out the picture in a couple of directions. But you can see already, that I got to go to the edges of the paper to spread it out. Even though the picture was smaller, you can see here how much room there was left. When I spread it all out, it really takes up a lot of room. So you can see an idea there for spreading apart your art to see what you get. And here is one more And this one, you can see I didn't use straight lines. I used curvy lines, and I'm going to try to spread it across the page. So it already goes side to side. I know I'm going to have to lose some pieces. So I'm going to lose that one. And then I think I'm going to lose that one. And then maybe over here, this one. All right, so now when I try to spread this picture across the page, I think I'm gonna lose a little bit more. So play around with a little bit before you start gluing, and then see what you think about spreading out your paper art. And you might even some of it cram together, like here on her hand. I might layer it with and make it push together. I'm going to do the same up here. Flip that this piece. I might layer up here where these pieces came from. Crowd them together and layer them a little bit. And then spread out this part. And then of course, I can use my scissors to trim anything that goes off the sides. I could even take a piece and move it around. I could move this piece of hair from over here and change it somewhere else if I wanted to. Be kind of weird. Put it here next to her face. It's whatever you want to do, but there we have some parts spread apart and some parts pinched together to change that picture. And here we'll go back to this one that I glued down with those Halloween masks, which looked a little bit more like that when I started. So there's some ideas for cutting up your magazines to make some interesting pieces of art that maybe you will use to make a card for someone or put on a poster. Anything that you want. You could put one on the cover of a notebook. You could add words. You can do anything you like, as long as you have fun. I think that's the most important thing. Problem solve with your art. Tear your strips if they're too long. Cut them. Put them one after the other to make them longer if you need. Whatever you need to do will be okay. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye.